You've been a civil rights attorney my entire life, and
Yes.
I'm not saying that in any sort of disparaging way,
No,
but
no.
in an honorific way.
Yes.
But talk about the work you did as a guest host here on the show and how that sort of dovetailed with what you were working on in the law.
We were very fortunate to have this forum because the mainstream media would not cover us. Mm-hmm. Occasionally, the Detroit Free Press would, but the mainstream media would not cover our issues and would not cover us. Yeah. And so, you know, as we began to walk into areas as the first, there clearly was a reaction to us.
Pushback.
Huge.
Yeah. As someone who hosted it in its early time, tell me what you think the significance of it is today, and maybe how different that is than when you were doing it.
In terms of, I was just thinking about it, as you were saying, that we had, it was a mission. Mm-hmm. I went on the air and privileged and happy to be there because I said, share the stories in the community, to share what was going on in the city, to have an opportunity, and whoever the general manager at that time, he needs to be given, you know, a hands up. Right. Because as you know, there was no other place. Right. And for him to, or it was a him, for him to make that decision was a step beyond where we were in the 60s and 70s and sometime in the 80s. There was no other place. Today, that is still on. The mission is still being carried out by the people such as yourself. Mm-hmm. And so it is significant today as it was then. Just as you said, he was talking about crack and cocaine. I didn't even know the words back then. Yeah. I didn't even know there was such a thing back then. Yeah. But we're talking about it today. So there is a need. It must stay. And it's necessary.
Yeah, yeah. Same question to you, Carl. As an attorney, as a former guest host of the show, why do we need this space now?
Tom Wicker, a famous columnist at the New York Times, years ago wrote a book called Tragic Failure. And it's an incredible, searing indictment of the promise of racial integration. This is 1996. And Tom Wicker said, the promise of racial integration is dead. And so if he's right and all of the evidence suggests that he is, then this forum is needed now more than ever, because how do we educate those young people? How do we tell them the issues that are going to affect them and their children? I'm a grandfather now, 20 grandchildren, 6 kids. And how do we get that information to them? It's like shows like this, so we can talk about the issues still that when the mainstream media covers them, they're not going to cover them like you're going to cover them, Stephen, or like we covered them when we hosted here. They're just not.
It's different.
It's a different perspective. And it's not that the perspective is wrong, it's just different.